Genesis chapter 14. It's a chapter full of action and suspense. It has war and conquest and even a little mystery. It's there that we find four kings going to war with five other kings. And they have this great battle in a valley full of tar pits, so it's full of action and suspense. It's a lot of fun to read. And during this whole battle that's going on, Abraham's nephew Lot sort of gets caught in the middle of it. And the four kings that win, they take Lot and everything he has with them as plunder. And so Abraham, he catches wind of this, and so he takes a small army of his own and goes to war with these four kings. And he wins. And then something very interesting, a little bit of intrigue happens. An individual shows up on the scene. It's sort of a mystery for readers for centuries after. Who is this person right here? It's the king of Salem, Melchizedek. And he's called a priest of the God Most High. Why this guy didn't, arrive sooner in the story, I have no idea, and where he came from, it's a bit of a mystery. We just know he came from Salem. And what happens to him after that is unknown as well. But Melchizedek, he brings bread and wine with him. It may sound a little bit familiar to you, those of you who go to church and experience communion. You know that that's a celebration of what's happened, of what God has done. And this is what Melchizedek says. He says, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." And then Abraham does something that's sort of familiar to us. Those of us who go to church, we experience this as well. Abraham gives him a tenth of everything he has. He tithes to him. He gives him an offering. So you have bread and wine, you have a tithe going on here, and people are praising God for being victorious. And this figure, Melchizedek, he's quite interesting. In fact, the writer of Hebrews in chapters 7 and 8 points out that there's a lot more to Melchizedek than we're even giving him credit, just by reading that Genesis passage. That he's a priest of God Most High. But generally a priest was somebody who was a Levite, somebody who was from the tribe of Levi. But Melchizedek was before Levi even lived. And then we also hear Jesus, and he's called the high priest, the priest of the Most High. But how can Jesus be a priest if he's not a Levite? He's from the tribe of Judah. And so if he's not a Levite, how is he a priest? And the writer of Hebrews says that Jesus is a priest through the order of Melchizedek. That Jesus has always been a priest. That he's indestructible, that he's lived forever. That his priesthood has been forever. That just like Melchizedek, Jesus was a priest before the Levites, before the Levitical priesthood. And so Jesus, that his priesthood is verified, that it's made legitimate through an example that we read here in this passage in Genesis 14, and that we ought to tithe to the high priest Jesus, and that we ought to give offerings to him, and that we know that we break of bread and drink of wine or grape juice in honor of what he's done and what he's going to do, and that our God is one who is victorious. And we know that it takes a sacrifice from a priest to atone for the sins of God's people. And so Jesus, he's a priest from the order of Melchizedek, a priest that's always been. And we know that he has made sacrifice for us, that he sacrificed himself. The high priest sacrificed himself on the cross for us.